Welcome to this week's online yoga class. For today's class, you'll need your usual kit that you'd have to be comfy, and it might be useful to have a long headrest, something like a long, neatly folded blanket or a full-size bed pillow or 2 yoga blocks that you can place side by side. So if you have everything that you need, we are ready to begin. As ever, I'd like to start by inviting you to lie down. Even if only briefly, if you could not kind of second guess yourself or go into habits by just allowing yourself just to lie down maybe briefly in Shavasana, lying down on the back with the long arms down by the sides away from the body and the long legs. Certainly, if as you do this, there's something very pressing you notice, such as the head unable to reach the floor or tipped back, so there's a big shortening in the back of the neck, certainly don't persist with it and raise your head with a headrest. Similarly, if it's very uncomfortable for you to have your legs straight, then certainly you can notice that and bend them and bring them back to semi-supine. But if it's just little tensions and little discomforts, little asymmetries, that's okay. It doesn't hurt us to notice it for a moment. So start by stopping. Notice where you are. Maybe congratulate yourself. Well done. Yoga's all about practice. It's not a philosophy, although it has a philosophy. It's all about practice. So you've made it onto your mat to spend time with yourself and for yourself. Well done. So notice where you are. Hopefully it's a peaceful place. Let your mind rest in this body, in this place, in this time. Seeing the next hour and a half as a completely clear space for you, like a little mini vacation. Free to focus just on yourself and on your sense of well-being. So there's that lovely sense of landing. And start to notice how you are, noticing how the physical body feels, areas that feel comfy, areas that are hard to feel or relate to, areas maybe of tension and discomfort. Noticing how you touch the floor, the general mood that you're bringing to your mat. The physical energy levels that you have to work with today. Noticing all these things in a neutral way. And a willingness to work with ourselves exactly as we are. So noticing where and how we are is useful in itself. It brings us present. There's useful information there. We can use it to benchmark, yes, at the end, but also to inform what we might need to do now to attend to our better physical comfort. So are you better legs bent, legs long, hands on body, elbows wide, long arms, away from the body, little fingers side down, quietening the shoulder or palms up. Opening the front of the shoulder, useful really because we're often bent forwards over the task at hand and it opens the front of the shoulder. No headrest, low headrest, higher headrest, soft or hard. We're not really looking for any feeling of stretch. You don't really want the head tipped forward or tipped back. You just want the neck long and quiet and relaxed. Or indeed, if you cannot get comfortable on your back, are you better side lying, knees bent up, nice prop between the legs? Where's your bottom arm resting? Where's your top arm resting on you, the floor, some props? Certainly need head support lying on the side. Hopefully you've chosen whether you're layering up or layering down with the clothes, with the blankets, windows open or closed. So we're getting the temperature and the ventilation right. We do what we can in this moment for our better physical comfort and then let the body rest. We can't fix everything by doing. That's a stress response. We can't fix everything by thinking. We can't fix everything by doing. Sometimes we just need the possibility for some space, some peace, some time to release and undo. Notice where your mental attention is. Are you happily following my voice, or is there anything on your mind that it would be helpful to acknowledge, and see yourself leaving it outside of the room that you're in? See yourself taking a break from it for the next hour or so, and then you can decide if you want to pick it up again afterwards. But this is your clear space. So we've done some attending to the physical body, done some very simple attending to the mind. The bridge between the mind and the body is the breath. The breath is something of your physical body. It's a physical function, but it's something that we can choose to leave autonomous of the body, or we can choose to take over and consciously control it. And it really is that bridge between the mind and the body. So let's just start by maybe noticing the breathing. No different to me asking you to notice your right elbow. It's something that's already there. We don't need to do anything or change anything. Just think of it as sneaking up on yourself, and notice your body breathing you in and out. And think of the noticing again like a snapshot in time. So without judgment and without feeling you need to change anything for a moment, just notice, when I sneak up on myself, am I breathing through my nose or through my mouth? Certainly both are possible. Both are useful in different ways. If there's something obstructing your nose, an allergy, a cold, injury, something like that, then don't worry. You just do what is possible. But certainly if there's nothing obstructing the nose, and if it is possible to breathe through the nose, and if you would like to relax, it can be helpful to let the breath come and go through the nose. It's such a wonderful device. There's a reason we have a nose. It controls the amount of air coming in and out of the body, so we don't overbreathe or hyperventilate. Warms the air, humidifies it, filters it, so it's not a shock to the system. And I just really love that yogic concept that we particularly absorb prana, or energy, at the tip of the nose. So we're also used to plugging in our electronic devices to recharge them. In yogic terms, making yourself comfy, bringing yourself present, allowing the breath to come and go through the nose. This is the yogic equivalent of plugging yourself in for a recharge. And that's what I think people love so much about yoga. Plugging yourself in for a recharge, restoring yourself. And then sneak up on yourself again and notice your torso, front, sides, back. Felt sense of it. Is there any physical movement of the breath in your torso somewhere? Anything's possible. Some people can notice that they're so tense and held that there's no physical movement or hardly any movement there at all. That's possible. Some people might notice that their breathing was very laboured and there's probably too much sound, too much movement for a body that's resting. That's possible. You might notice you're breathing up quite high in the body, using all those accessory muscles to breathing at the top, or in the chest, You might be a chest breather naturally. It's not wrong, it's just what's happening now. Or you might be a belly breather, feeling more movement in the belly, or some combination of those things. So what do you notice? The yogis say noticing the breath is a little bit like looking in the mirror. It tells us something about how we are right now, not in a judgmental way, but in a useful way. Whatever you find, just note it. I remember when I was new to yoga, I'd beat myself up about all these things that I'd noticed that I thought I was doing wrong. But we're human, and we live in a human body, in a human state, and anything's possible. And even a yoga teacher could notice breath holding or any number of things. So don't worry about that. Just throw that to one side. What do you naturally notice is happening? And then, is it possible to really be aware of the low ribs and the upper abdomen and start to think of it as very, 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 very soft? Imagining it soft. Because belly breathing isn't something that you do. We don't force the belly in and out. It's just that we're so relaxed. Any conscious or unconscious holding, we set to one side and the belly's soft, and then diaphragmatic breathing comes about. The belly will expand as you breathe in, and it will relax as you breathe out. As a result of relaxing. Not because we will it so, or because we force it so. So maybe it was already happening, or we can bring it about that the belly is free to rise and fall with the breath, which means we're breathing down nice and low into our breathing apparatus, breathing deeply, if you like, which is not what people think. It's not breathing heavily or hard. It's just breathing down low and through the nose and slowly. That's deep breathing. People often misconstrue that. And we know it massages the vagus nerve, and it gives our whole nervous system that AOK signal, which is just so useful. It's useful because it's reliable. We can land on our mat not feeling too great, and just those simple cues can start to bring about that sense of well-being, that bridging between the mind and the body as they start to settle. And you guys know this now. You're such experts at this now. We know that the final cue is just to see, can we lengthen and deepen the breath a little bit, but not by forcing, because that will be counterintuitive or not helpful. I like to say to people something like, either next time you breathe out, just extend the exhalation a little bit and look out for a natural pause at the end of the exhale, letting the inhale take care of itself. That cue might work for you. Or a more simple way might be to say, breathe out and wait. See what happens. Again, implied that the inhale takes care of itself. So if there's any doing, it's really just the lengthening of the exhale and the not being in a hurry and finding some space at the end of the exhale. And I find that I only really need to do that maybe 2 or 3 times. And the body's so intelligent, it will then start to find a new, unique to you, more relaxed pattern of breathing. So it's not something that we force on the body, it's something that can happen by relaxing and just some very simple cues. All of the tools of yoga are simply tools. They're not a means to an end in themselves. We use them as they're useful, and then we can put them down. The ultimate goal of yoga is freedom from suffering. If you look at the philosophy, from our human state of suffering that we all have. So you quite naturally come to a point where you feel that you can put all these concepts and ideas and practices down, and you can just simply let yourself be. Everybody's always telling us how we can multitask and do more and try harder. Nobody ever tells us how to stop. And that's what's so wonderful about yoga. You can simply rest now. You are enough. Simply in a state of being. You don't need to know anything. You don't need to have anything. You don't need to do anything. You are perfect despite your imperfections and valuable exactly as you are. That state of being. That's real freedom. Just let yourself rest for a moment. Rest. Well done. Notice how you find yourself now compared to when I first invited you to lie down on the mat. I'd like you to still lie down on the mat, but begin to find pleasing ways to be a little bit more awake and aware. Could be just opening the eyes, letting the mental awareness turn outside again. Could be deepening breathing, sighing, yawning. Wiggling fingers and toes, stretching through the body, much as you might do when you wake up in the morning. Hugging the knees, attending to whatever needs attending to, really. So you come to that point where you feel nice and relaxed, but a little bit more awake and aware. And once you feel like that, I'll encourage you to come to a semi-supine position. So lying on your back with your knees bent and your feet on the floor. Initially just placing them for comfort. So often it depends on body shape, comfort in knees, but usually if someone's placing their feet in semi-supine, for comfort, the feet are somewhere under the knees or maybe slightly in front of them. But we need to try and get some purchase through the legs. So I'm going to encourage you to, whatever's possible for your body shape and knee comfort, bring your feet, yes, hip width apart and on the floor, but bring them closer to the pelvis. Where you feel, yes, I would get more leverage, I would get more purchase out of my feet here, which is different to where you would place them to be relaxed. If you have any kind of headrest, and if you can do without it, I'd encourage you to put the headrest on one side. If you can't, then we have the lowest possible headrest and the softest possible headrest. And let's start with our arms, maybe long down by our sides, but just a little bit away from the body. Maybe resting on the little finger side of the hand might be nice, so the palms face the body, so the shoulders are most relaxed. If it's hard to maintain, it makes you feel stiff, then just let the palms roll up towards the ceiling. It doesn't matter too much. One of those two things. Place the head and neck down long, drop the chin, relax the neck, relax the jaw. So from here, I want you just to simply think about very gently. Don't think of pushing or lifting or poses or I like this one, I don't like this one or anything like that. If you notice things like that, that's interesting. That's part of the practice of yoga. We notice the mind, the chatter, we put it to one side. Just say to yourself, okay, here I am in this base position. I'm relaxed as I can be. I'm aware of my feet. And I'm just going to press into my feet just enough that if they were inky feet and I had paper underneath them, I'd be trying to make a perfect imprint of my feet, all the toes and all parts of the foot. And notice that that just naturally has a sense of switching on the legs slightly. And naturally it tilts the pelvis back slightly. That's not something we're having to do. It's a consequence of just gently pressing down through the feet. And maybe just say to yourself your belly button can drop back towards your spine, drop your chin so the back of the neck is long. Breathing comfortably. And it's very useful to do it on the bandha, so do it when the breath's held out briefly. So next time you're naturally breathing out, when you get to the end of the exhale, in that brief pause before the body breathes in again, just send your knees south as if you were sending them between the big toe and the little toe. Lift the heavy pelvis. Peel a little bit of the spine away from the floor, dropping the chin. If you feel any tightening in your lower back, relax. Go a bit lower. It's as if you're lifting a sleeping baby. Drop the chin, relax the neck. So you might be resting somewhere in your mid or upper back. And when you want to come down, imagine frame by frame, it's like someone's pressed rewind on you. So you're placing the spine down, vertebra by vertebra, as if you were putting down a sleeping baby. Well done. Let's have another go. Let's try the arms maybe out at shoulder level, palms up, or they could be a bit lower if you prefer. Are your feet in a good place for purchase? Nothing's fixed. We've got responsive minds and responsive bodies. We can choose to replace the feet. So there's the gentle inky feet that switches on the legs, that tilts the pelvis back, and the sense of the belly button dropping, dropping, dropping. Next time you breathe out, the end of the exhalation, in that brief moment before the body breathes you back in again, when your diaphragm is most relaxed, imagine someone's picked up your knees and sent them south. You don't have to come that high. Pelvis peels from the floor, bits of the spine peel from the floor, like lifting a sleeping baby. There should be no tightening anywhere in your lower back. If that's happened, maybe go slower, do less, go lower, drop the chin, keep lengthening the back of the neck. When you want to come out, imagine that rewind, placing down the spine vertebra by vertebra, as if you're placing the pelvis down like a sleeping baby. It's unaffected. Setu Bandhasana, 2-foot support, strong foot and leg work, relaxed pelvis, relaxed spine. And then, because it's a problematic instruction for a teacher to give their yoga students to say arms overhead, it is problematic because some people can't do it and some people can do it but with discomfort, and some people can do it and it feels okay but their arms are miles away from the floor and their shoulders are lifting from the floor, and there are so many problems. So what I would say is, from shoulder level with the palms up, there might be where they stay, or it might be that the arms start to slide in full contact with the floor a bit wider. See, if I'm really truthful with myself, in yoga we call this satya, or truth, my arms overhead are quite wide. They are overhead, but they're really quite wide. If I'm honest, if my shoulder blades are still on the floor, if my shoulder girdle's relaxed, if there's no daylight anywhere between my arms and back of my wrists and hands and the floor. And it's no fault. It's probably the shape of the bones, to be honest, in my body. Certainly I have no restriction in my shoulders, but if I'm honest, this is the most comfortable place. It's probably bone shape. So you find your most comfortable overhead position. Check you've got the feet in a position that would be helpful for purchase. I'd suggest close to the pelvis, drop the chin, relax the neck, and then just one last time. So there's the not thinking of bridge or lifting or up, because that doesn't help us. It's the grounding and down that gives us up. So I can press into all parts of my feet and my Legs just kind of switch on naturally as a consequence, and my pelvis tilts back and the back of the waist touches the floor as a consequence. If I tighten my neck, can I relax the jaw and the neck? Think of the belly button dropping. Breathe out to the end of the exhale, and while the breath is just briefly held out, send the knees away. Might give you a lightness that you lift effortlessly, and don't be competitive about where you get to. I just lift to where I'm curious that my body seems to go comfortably, and I can think of it as a sleeping baby I've lifted. There's no tightening in my back. My back's relaxed, and my pelvis is lifted up high, and my spine contraction release. Drop the chin, relax the neck. Breathing normally, obviously. Certainly when you want to come down, peel the spine back to the floor. Notice which bits touch bit by bit, which bits seem to go down as one lump. We're noticing our own stiffnesses, we all have them. Place the pelvis down like a sleeping baby. Well done. Bring the arms somewhere more comfy, and the feet maybe somewhere slightly more comfy. Becoming so discerning. I can place my arms in lots of places, but where are they most comfy? I can have my feet close to my pelvis for bridge. But where are my feet most comfy? Now I'm resting. Well done. And then let's use the spinal flexion movement. I think we did it last week in the lower back release class. Because I love it, because it's like bridge, but the direct opposite of it. So bridge is foot and leg work, lifting a heavy pelvis, spine traction extension. And this pose is strong hands and arms, lifting a heavy head, spine, traction, flexion, but they're very similar. So let your feet be further away than they would normally be. So you've almost got a right angle in the back of the legs. And bring your thumbs to the base of your skull. Lift your head, put your thumbs to the base of your skull, and spread the rest of the fingers somewhere comfy on your head. And the elbows point up to the ceiling, but they're away from the face. And on any given exhalation, there's that smidge of tone in the pelvic floor and the tummy. It doesn't affect your breathing, it doesn't make anything feel tight, it's just a smidge. And then you consciously relax the neck, because you don't initiate from there, you initiate from the hands that pick the head forwards and up and peel the upper back away from the floor. I might look and see my tummy go down. Depends on your body shape really, what you can see. As I'm breathing in, I'm peeling the upper spine back to the floor until the head touches down. And it should feel quite relaxed. Certainly if someone had severe neck pain and they were just unable to switch off their neck, I'd say to them, do imaginary ones. So as you breathe out, you still tone the pelvic floor and the abdomen, and you imagine lifting your head, and you'll feel the same muscles tighten down the front of the body. And then imagine putting your head down, and you'll feel the same muscles relax. So that's another option. Have a little play a couple of times. So it's on an exhalation, the pelvic floor and abdomen are toning, and the neck is consciously relaxing. It's the hands that pick the head forwards and up, peeling the upper back away from the floor. We've got that tone in the pelvic floor and the abdomen to protect the pelvic floor, and then the inhales, the uncurling. Is it so smooth, as if someone's able to sort of rewind you. People don't do rewind much nowadays, but most of us probably remember some kind of rewind, frame by frame. So I'm looking for quality rather than quantity. So maybe if you're still practicing, let's make the next one the last one. Really consciously relax that neck. And then put your arms and legs somewhere that feel reasonably symmetrical and comfortable, and take a rest for a moment. So we've done a bit of extension that was directed into the lower back. I want to do a bit of extension that's directed into the upper back. So take your time now, let's come and lie on the front. Doing whatever it is that you need to do to be comfy, lying on your front. If you need a blanket at the top of the abdomen to lift the chest from the floor, or if you need to lie down, a full-size bed pillow or a nicely folded blanket, something like that. Come and lie on the front of your body. Fold your hands one on top of the other, let your forehead rest on your top hand, stretch your legs out. Find a way of being comfortable and relaxed. I think we did a bit of this last week as well. Let's think about bringing the pubic bone down towards the floor. It just gives you a smidge of tone in the buttocks that holds the lower back long so it doesn't pinch. Eyes open, lifting the head with a long neck. So you're not really lifting from the neck, you're lifting from the upper back and chest, and you're still looking down at the floor. And then that same idea of rewind, frame by frame, placing the front of the spine down and till your head and hands make contact again. And you can relax and rest in between each one, doing it in your own time really. You breathe normally throughout. Tiny smidge of pubic bone down to floor, lifting head, long neck, peeling front of spine. The idea with this little mini Ardha Bhujangasana, this little mini modification of Cobra pose, is that we leave the lower back alone by not going too high, and we leave the neck alone by keeping the neck long and getting the upper back and chest to work. So it's kind of the ideal I've been sitting all day, it's the antidote to sitting, leaning forward, being kyphotic, which many of us find ourselves bent forward, don't we, a lot. This is bridge and this one are great antidotes to that. There's a brilliant teacher called Judith Hanson Lassiter. I did all my restorative training with her. It's pretty intense. Training nearly killed me. She's from California. She's a great teacher. Pretty tough, but she's great. And I always remember her saying that all of us as we get older, and actually even younger people nowadays, because they're bent over so many electronic items and things in their jobs, we don't move very much, do we? We need these restorative, gentle back bends more and more and more as an antidote really to that. And I think from my practice and teaching, I have to agree actually. Well done. So next time you touch down, you can relax. Do something that is relaxing. It could be head on one side, or it could be forehead down, hands to back of skull, a superior pose, neck release, or it could be Advasana, forehead down on the floor, arms long, palms down, which is your prone version of Shavasana. Pick one that you fancy. Have a little rest there. If you do pick head on one side, then certainly have a few breaths head on one side and then change and have a few breaths on the other side. As long as you're not resting on your chin, I'm happy that your neck is relaxed and long. So we did a bit of flexion or forward bending through the upper body with the little curl up we did a moment ago. Let's do a bit of flexion through the lower back. So I would say let's come up onto all fours and go for some kind of child pose. If you can't be on all fours, you could lie on your back and bring your knees to your chest, couldn't you? That would do the same thing, Apanasana. If you don't have a lot of bend in your knees or hips, or just because you fancy it, because it's so nice for your back, you could come onto forearms, just checking that the lower back is long and the back of the neck and head are long in line with the rest of the spine. You could do that kind of version of child, because it will still release your buttocks and round out your lower back, which is the bit I'm thinking of. Or if you like it and you've got the bend in the knee and the hips, you could sink the bottom back towards the heels. And if the head doesn't reach the floor without a huge drop, it's probably better to fold the hands and put the forehead on the hands or the fists or something. I quite like that shortened version. Breathe and rest and breathe. If you are in this more classic version of child, think of a really heavy head and a really heavy pelvis. If you're in the higher one, think of the spine lengthening. If you're lying on your back with your knees to your chest, just notice how the breath moves your legs. There's always something to be noticed. Breathing deeply into the sides and the back of the body. When you're ready, slowly coming up so you can see me. Just going to remind you of the this version of a side bend. I want to think about a side bend where we anchor the pelvis and move through the upper body. People who have a lot of bend in their knees and hips, they would do it almost from an extended child type position, and they would walk the upper body round to one side, and whichever's, if I've gone to the right, it's my left arm I reach away with a little bit and sink, and just really think about breathing into these side ribs. And you can soften the elbows if you haven't got that much sort of movement in the shoulder. If you don't have that sort of bend in your knees or hips, you can do it sort of taking the bum back a little bit, walking round and reaching the arm away. It's more from a high sort of all fours type position. It's exactly the same in the side ribs actually, so you may as well pitch it. Make sure you're not shortening the back of the neck. So pick the version that you fancy and have a go. Get yourself organised on one side, rest there and breathe. Get yourself then back to the centre and then organised onto the other side and rest there and breathe. And really think about, make sure you're not shortening the back of the neck, drop the chin, and really imagine and actually breathe quite deeply into those side ribs. People don't talk about exercising their ribs, but often when I see people are stuck in various positions or their breathing's restricted, it's often that they need to get some movement around the ribs. Have a few deep breaths on one side, feel what it is to come to the middle, and then work round to the other side and rest there for a similar amount of time. Relax your neck, relax your jaw, really breathing into those side ribs that you've opened up. Remember, all your lung tissue is stuck to the inside of your ribs. It's not just the structure of the ribs that we're releasing, but the spine that the ribs are attached to and the lungs that are attached to it inside. So improving function really, breathing, movement, comfort. And you think you've done both sides similarly. You can come out and come and lie back down on your back again. Wiggle out your headrest, whatever makes you feel most comfortable. And let's take the arms up towards the ceiling, almost as if we're doing an anti-gravity type pose. So they're up towards the ceiling, but they relax back in their sockets and you can wiggle them so they're relaxed, and you relax your jaw and your neck, drop your chin. Well done. And then let's add bending of the knees. So the knees come into the chest and it's just sort of, it's wiggling really. Bringing one hip towards one shoulder and one hip towards one shoulder. You see animals do this in ecstasy. Babies do it as well. It's one of the first spinal movements. Side bending is one of the first spinal movements that we have. If your body shape or hips or something don't allow you to do that, you could always be in semi-supine, kind of wriggling your hips from side to side, like when we do the semi-supine side bend. So if that's more comfortable for you, please do it there. But if you can experience it with your knees on your chest, there's something super wriggly about it, so that might be quite nice. And what's nice to notice is that if you're really relaxed as you do it, it's not that I'm choosing to move my head, it's a response. This is where the whole body starts to, I don't know, just move in the way that it should move. I have a responsive body. All I'm doing is wiggling my pelvis from side to side, and I get a response from my shoulders and head and neck. In other words, my body is not held rigidly, which is a nice thing, because often we can find ourselves held rigid, can't we? Well done. And then just briefly bring the feet down to the floor, and as time let the arms rest for a moment. Oh, enjoy those little rests in between. We're not in a hurry. That would kind of be the anti-yoga, wouldn't it? If we were in a hurry, we might have missed the point. Yoga isn't asana. That's a common mistake. People think that yoga is the postures of yoga, and that's just one tiny aspect of yoga. You are in a state of yoga from the minute you intend to do yoga until you intend to stop practicing yoga. So it's all yoga, even when you're seemingly doing nothing. And sometimes those little rests that we take in between poses are just like magic. They're the best bits. When the mind gets to reflect and the body gets to rest and the breathing is at ease, bridging between the mind and the body to a whole sense of ease, which is probably why we all do yoga in the first place and not maybe, kinetics or Pilates or whatever. It's that wholeness, that holistic practice. Well done. So we've done forward bends and back bends and side bends that have accessed the whole spine, bottom up, top down. Let's do some twists. So an upper body anchored, lower body twist. If you can, bring your arms out at shoulder level, palms up. You can have the hands folded into the body of the arms, lower down if you prefer, but let's see. Doesn't matter if you've got a headrest or not. Bring the knees onto the chest. And these can be super small, where you're just bringing the legs over to one side, slowly and very small. As soon as you feel any moving of the opposite shoulder, you come back. And then bring the legs to the other side. As soon as you feel any lightening or sliding or moving of the opposite shoulder, you come back. Drop the chin, relax the neck. If you can't do this and you'd rather do a semi-supine hips one way, knees the other twist, that's fine too. It would be a similar twist. It is difficult for you to have the legs up. I don't care so much about the pose. If we're going to do the pose, we'll do it correctly, but I care more about my intention. My intention is to anchor your upper body and twist through your lower body. There's lots of ways we can do that. That's how you cleverly modify for people with very different needs in a group class. And for me, that's where the interest is. Well done. So it can just stay like that and then rest. It can be a bit deeper where the legs come over to one side and you catch with the opposite hand, so you don't go too far. It's almost like scaffolding. Say I had a student with something like, they knew they had quite severe osteoporosis in their ribs and spine, so they didn't want to go into a particularly deep twist with the whole weight of the legs. It would be quite sensible to do it in a supported way, I think. I remember once having a really sore tummy and I was doing it this way, so I didn't pull through my tummy, because these twists are often called revolved abdomen twists. So I was doing it in a supportive way just to soften the pull on my tummy. There might be lots of reasons. It might just be interesting to not always do the same thing. Some people like to take the legs all the way over onto one side. Sometimes the legs meet and sometimes they don't. There might be a big gap between the legs. That's just interesting. Think of dropping top leg towards bottom leg, even if it doesn't reach. Think of the palms being up to open the front of the shoulders, face looking at the ceiling. It's a one-way twist. Relax, relax. Breathe and rest. Rest and breathe. Relax your neck. I know I say it a lot, because so much information comes through the neck. Everything, all the information between the body and the head goes through the neck. It's like a little busy junction box. And often people are shortening or tightening their neck. It's unconscious at first. They might be conscious of numbness or discomfort, but they might not be conscious that they're tightening their neck. And then once it comes into our consciousness, we have a chance of relaxing it. You'd have to lead with the top leg to come out if you did do that one, I think, and then maybe have a go on the other side. So you could be resting, you could be doing the mini ones, you could be doing the medium supportive ones. You might have worked through all of them and just be resting on your final side in your twist now. anything feels tight or uncomfortable, can you relax and breathe into it? Well done. Then we come out. So that was an upper body anchored lower body twist, just so we juicily get into all the bits. Let's do the one where we lie on the side, so we anchor the lower body and come into the upper body. So you might want a long headrest. A couple of blocks together, firmly folded blanket, bed pillow, something like that. I normally prefer something firmer if you want support. It's funny, people come to classes maybe as beginners and they always think it's more comfortable to have something soft as a support, and they become quite surprised that they learn to use the harder supports or the firmer supports and they feel more comfortable because it's holding your weight so your muscles can relax. So we lie on the side, you can pad under the pelvis if you like, you bend your knees up at maybe like into a fetal type position, and head reaching to your headrest. If it's not high enough, you can fold it again. Arms in front of you as if you were sort of having a little nap. And take a moment to quieten the nervous system, so dropping top leg into bottom leg. Low side ribs relaxing towards the ground. If you know you've got scoliosis and your low side ribs on this side don't reach, and if you're uncomfy, put a folded blanket or a cushion or something in there, why not? Head dropping to the floor, relaxing the arms. And then it's as if someone's trying to wake you up by sort of moving your top shoulder. So your top shoulder moves forward and your face turns sort of towards the floor. And your top shoulder moves back, your face turns towards the ceiling. And it initially starts as very small. And the arms have no choice but to follow because they're attached, but we're not leading with them in this version. You can stay with small ones if you like, doing them as slowly or as swiftly as you like. I just like to start myself slow and incrementally, maybe centimetre by centimetre, make them bigger. If it feels comfy, if it doesn't, then I would stop. Maybe that top shoulder comes down towards the floor and the arms come out, palms up, face towards the ceiling, and you're resting in your lower body anchored upper body twist. If it's uncomfortable, you could fold the arms in and let them rest on the body. The end point of the pose is where you feel comfy on that day. I find it can vary greatly for me. Morning to evening, day to day, week to week, month to month, depending on what I've been doing. Breathing, resting, resting, breathing. Are you relaxed? If I check in with myself, I might be holding my feet or my jaw or something. And I can then remind myself I can relax. Why is yoga so relaxing? Because we keep practicing relaxing, and anything that you practice a lot, you're going to get really good at. Well done. Then we might slowly come out and take time to reorganise on the other side. So, lying on the other side in a straight line, headrest. Knees up in a fetal position, arms as if you're having a little snooze, top leg resting on bottom leg, low side ribs resting towards the floor, head resting towards the floor, and then face, the top shoulder comes forward, face turns towards the floor, top shoulder comes back. Face comes towards the ceiling, and you're not leading with the arms in this version, you're leading with the shoulder, so the movement is truly a spinal movement of head, spine and attached ribs moving, and the arms are almost superfluous. And you can keep them small. I was thinking about my students that I know have issues with vertigo. particularly if it's positional, so when they're moving the head it makes them feel funny. Please try not to be afraid of it. You're on the floor, you can't fall. To move your head is a great vestibular exercise. It might feel frightening, but if you can relax your breathing and just move slowly and remind yourself that you're safe, you can do this as a vestibular exercise so that strengthening your balance system so it starts to not become so much of a problem. It's only when we hold so much fear that the anxiety can make us dizzy, and we hold ourselves rigid, then we really are stuck. I know it's easier said than not done from experience, but we have to find a way of allowing the head to move, and the safest way is on the floor because you can't go anywhere. Maybe you're eventually opening out into a twist, maybe not. The end point of it could be resting not in a twist, just resting on your side or in a little mini one, sort of halfway there on your side. That's up to you, feeling where it's comfortable and useful for you today. Breathing and resting, resting and breathing. Are you relaxed? Check in with yourself. Are the feet relaxed? The belly soft? The neck relaxed? The jaw relaxed? The breathing relaxed? When you're ready, slowly come out. You've been lying down on the floor for a while. We've done all the spinal movements. Take your time to come up. You've been down for a while. Move the headrest out of the way. Get used to having your head upright. So we did lots of things to move the ribs and the spine in all directions. It feels right to do something where there's now stability. We always start by releasing and undoing. It's much easier and more relaxing and quietening to the nervous system to do it on the floor. But we don't want to be jellyfish. Most of us need tension undoing. But we also need stability and strength. So let's come onto all fours if that's possible. Remember, if it's hard on the knees, you could take a full bed pillow and kneel on it. Don't just put it under the bad knee, put it under both knees so you feel even through the hips and the legs. Could be hands roughly under shoulders or fists, or you could be down on elbows, or you could roll your mat and lift your wrists, or whatever it is that you need to do to be comfy. Let's start by maybe having the knees a bit closer together so you've got easier to find your centre of gravity. And maybe just drop the head once and lift it with a long neck so that you're looking directly at your mat. And then maybe dip and push your upper back and then find adequate support in your upper back. And maybe lift your tail, stick your bum out and drop your belly. And then tuck your tail and tighten your buttocks and your belly. And then find neutral. So you've got a nice neutral position. And let's try single limb lifts. So imagine I've put a big bowl of spaghetti bolognese on your pelvis and you don't want to lose it. So you can't lift this right leg by leaning because you're going to lose your dinner. So you're trying to keep your pelvis quiet as you slide the leg away along the floor just to come onto the toes, and that might be it. Or it might be leaving the pelvis entirely alone, lifting the leg and then placing it back down and relaxing. Well done, you haven't lost your bowl of spaghetti bolognese on your pelvis, because you could just kind of lean and tilt the pelvis to raise the leg, but that's not really what we're looking for. Have a go on the left leg. So I'm in my tripod base with my legs closer together. I'm lovely and adequately supported through my back. and I'm aware of my pelvis. I can't see it, so I can only sense it and feel it. And I'm trying not to disturb it at all as I slide the left leg away along the floor, just to rest on the toes. And that might be it. You might not lift it, or you might lift it without trying to tilt the pelvis in any way. And then place it down and come back. Well done. And then let's try a single arm. So think about, can you take the right arm away from the floor? It could be just the hand if there's a shoulder problem, or you could extend the arm if there isn't a shoulder problem. If it's hard to lift, pull in your pelvic floor and abdomen slightly, and then put it down. Same on the left side. Can you lift the left arm away? And then place it back down. And then what about diagonals? So what if your right leg went back, maybe up, and then you extended your left arm or lifted your left hand? Keep the back of the neck long, breathing comfortably, and then place it back down. Same on the other side, so try not to disturb anything. Think of your back as a table and you've got a full dinner party on there. You don't want to disturb it as you raise the left leg and maybe extend the right arm. Have a little play, as little or as much as you like, and rest when you like and how you like. Some people like to rest down, some people like to rest up. I'm thinking about the fact that I know that soon we'll be coming to standing, so for me, I might rest up. I might do something like bring the back of my wrists together. That's quite nice. Just bring the back of the hands together and just kind of swing the hands backwards and forwards just to relieve the wrists. There's too many things in yoga that go that way, so it's quite nice to release the wrists. Well done. And then it could be that you do the same again, have a little play with your single leg lifts, diagonal leg lifts, or you just choose to rest. Or it could be that we play briefly with dog pose. Remember, if dog pose isn't right for you, you could do it from standing to a wall or a ledge or the chair, or you could flip on your back and do bridge pose instead. So if I'm going to do dog on the floor, am I going to be doing a hand dog, or am I going to be down on my forearms doing an elbow dog? So that's the first decision. I suppose it depends on what's going on in the wrists. And I've got the long neck and dip and push and find neutral in my upper back, maybe in my lower back. So I'm in this tabletop position where I'm not collapsed, but I'm not tense. And I'm long and I'm wide and I'm soft and I can breathe and be responsive. And I tuck my toes under. Well done. And I might just practice not doing dog. I might just practice bringing my bottom towards my heels. Remember, if you haven't got a lot of bend in your toes or your knees, it might be a tiny bit. Or if you've got a lot of bend in your toes and knees, it might be bottom sinking all the way down towards the heels. And let the back of the neck long. So you can practice doing prep for dog without actually doing it. Think of the fact that your weight is back and you're feeling more pressure in your toes and less pressure in your arms, really, but you're leaning, you're transferring weight through your arms, through your hands, down into the floor. I might do that and come out a couple of times. I think the poses that are done best are the ones that you just don't really mind whether you do them or not. If you think to yourself, my God, I've got to do this pose come hell or high water, you're going to take so much tension into it. Arguably, is it any use to you, really? So sometimes just playing with the starting position or playing with, the beginnings of poses without actually doing the poses is really useful, because it gives you a chance to slow down and feel all the parts and to quieten the nervous system. And it might be then that you've just tricked yourself, that you're so relaxed, the next time that the weight comes back, it could even be only a little, you pour weight down through your arms and your strong legs pick your pelvis up. Let the back of the neck go. Releasing heels towards floor, but they might not reach. Might just taste it and come out. Some people like to stay there, and others like to come in and out. And there's method in both those. Both of those have got merit in both those methods. So you could be watching, you could just be in tabletop position, you could be just sinking back and feeling the transfer of the weight back without actually doing dog, or you could be lulling yourself into a false sense of security as the weight comes back. Well, no, a true sense of security actually. Drop the head, strong legs, as if your heels are sent towards the floor. In my case, they don't reach, but they're going in that direction. And the weight's pouring down through my arms, through my hands into the floor. Think of it transferring through. Well done. If you're still practicing, make the next time the last time, and certainly rest with your head up afterwards. So those of you that have been doing bridge instead, finish off your next bridge and then think about bringing your head back upright, so you get used to having your head upright. So certainly just check you feel okay with your head upright. If you didn't, you would just pause me, wait for a bit, come up when you felt ready. If you feel okay, then we'll come up to standing now. If it's difficult for you to get from the floor to standing, do it in whatever way you can that's safe for you and sensible. If there's no difficulty getting up from the floor, make it a bit more of a challenge for yourself. So say to yourself, right, doesn't matter what position I'm in, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to try not to use my hands. So try to make it leg work that enables you to stand up. Give it a bit more light. Well done. I'm just going to bring myself back a little bit. Well done. So I was thinking about this and I was thinking, well, we've done all of the releasing on the floor. We've done a bit of being long and stable through the centre of the body. Let's do some things that free up around the hips in a subtle way, around the shoulders and the ribs and the breathing in a subtle way. Because we haven't done an awful lot with hips and shoulders in this one. And from standing, we've got other considerations, things like balance. So you're simply standing, feet hip width apart and parallel. Have a look at your feet. Are they hip width apart? Are they parallel? Yoga isn't really the place where you stand as you would stand at a bus stop, It's a chance, not to force the body, but it's a chance to be free of our habits and to create new habits. In yoga we call these samskaras. They're almost like the grooves in a record. They can be ingrained and negative, or they can be ingrained and positive. So even just a simple instruction, can you stand with your feet hip width apart and parallel? Can you? It's very interesting to me as a teacher, because I'll give that instruction in class and at least a third of people don't even know that they're standing with their feet turned out like that, or with weight into one leg. They're not aware of it. So let's bring some awareness to it in a soft way, not in a forcing way. And let's all take our weight into our left leg. And keeping the weight back in that left leg, let's reach forward with the right toes to 12 o'clock and bring the foot back. And then over to 1 o'clock and bring the foot back. And over to 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock and at 4 o'clock. Notice where your eyes are looking. Are they fixed? Can you look around? 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock. Often if people are unsteady, they'll look behind them or they'll look down. I know I certainly do. When I'm not feeling certain, I'll look behind me when the legs go behind, or I'll look down. So it's interesting to notice where you're looking. Weight back in both feet now. Ideally, you want to be able to look up at the horizon level. It doesn't have to be fixed, that you could be free to look around with your eyes while you're balancing. So let's have a go on the other side. So weight in the right leg. Reaching forward to 12 o'clock with the left toes, leg comes back, and then over to 11, leg comes back. Where are your eyes? Look over to 10, leg comes back, out to 9, leg comes back, back to 8. Oh, I wanted to look behind me then. Leg comes back, back to 7, leg comes back, back to 6, leg comes back, weight back in both feet again. Well done. So we're going to do the same exercise again, but we're going to transfer weight. So we'll go over to the number and back, and then transfer weight away and then back. So we're practicing transferring weight away from the centre and back to the centre. Ready? So we're going to step forward to 12 o'clock and then step back. And then over to 1 o'clock and then step back. Over to 2. If I'm going too slow or too fast, feel free to adjust. Out to 3. And back. Back to 4. And then back to 5. And then back to 6. Well done. Weight back in both legs. Let's have a go on the other side. So the weight's more in the right leg now, but then you can step forwards to 12 o'clock with the left and then step back. Free up your neck. Keep yourself looking up at the horizon. Over to 11 and then step back. And over to 10 and then step back. And then over to 9 and then step back. And back to 8 and then step back and back to 7 and then step back and back to 6 and then step back. Well done. Fantastic. Let's see the time. Yeah, we've got time to play. So let's take the weight into the left leg and see if you can circle, or semicircle really, the right leg around the left. You put your arms out like a tightrope walker to help you balance if you like. So it's a different sort of still moving balance because I'm still on my left leg and I'm balancing, or sorry, I'm moving through my right leg. It's like a semicircle around it. See how that balance feels? Well done. And then back into both feet. If you can do these very easily, don't take it for granted. You'd be surprised how difficult it is to balance for people as they get older, and if they've had some kind of illness that's debilitated them, either in terms of muscle strength or problems with nerves or problems with ears, or so it's a wonderful thing when you can balance. We really need to practice it and keep it. So weights in the right leg. Can you semicircle the left leg around it? Keep the neck relaxed. You can have the arms out. You can do whatever you like. You can wobble. Wobbling's part of balancing. If you're not willing to wobble, then you're not going to have much luck balancing, because that's part of it. So let your body be responsive and do the things it needs to do to help you balance. Ooh, nearly went then. Well done. Last one. Let's stand. Weight into the left leg. Lift the right leg away from the floor. You can have your arms where you like. And just see, can you turn your head to the right and turn your head to the left? You can wobble as much as you like. Try to do it without putting the foot down. If you need to put the foot down, obviously you can. Try to look up. Try to look down. Well done. Try that a bit more. So looking to the right, looking to the left, looking up, looking down, letting yourself wobble. If that was difficult, just practice that. And if it was okay, see if you can reach down and touch your left foot with one of your hands without putting the right foot down. Lots of wobbling is okay because we're practicing balancing. And then we stand. Well done. Whatever you managed to do, if you didn't fall over and fall on the floor, that was good balance. Well done. So let's have a go on the other side. So my weight's in my right leg and I lift my left toes. It can be just above the floor. You don't need to lift it that high. Arms can be wherever you like. Can you look around to the right and left? Can you look up and can you look down? Might just keep practicing that. Might be that if that's okay, we see, can we reach down And touch the foot without putting the left foot down. Look, it doesn't matter how much you wobble. And then bring yourself back. That's hard, isn't it? I love it because it's so different. Even for really experienced yogis with good balance. It's all very well that we can balance in the warrior poses and the tree poses and things because they're quite still, but you're not really moving one of your major inputs for balance, which is your head. That's real balance. That's why these ballerinas and these martial artists and things that you see traveling through the air with everything moving in different directions, their balance is absolutely incredible. Much more incredible than the yogi who's standing like this. So I find that hard, but I really like it because it gets better with practice. I hated it at first, but it gets better really quickly when you practice. Well done. So that might have razzed up your nervous system a little bit. So let's quieten it down. I might stand and face you so you can see me. Let's do something, because that was all around the hips really, in the legs. Let's do something, it's called the bucket handle water pump exercise. So your ribs, they move in different ways. These sort of low side ribs around here. Imagine a bucket with a handle that rests, that circular handle, semicircular handle that rests on the bucket that you could lift up to lift the bucket and you could place back down on the rim. That action is the action of these ribs here. Whereas where it's more fixed at the front, where the ribs are coming in to the sternum, their action is more like that. So they call it the water pump. Do you remember those old-fashioned water pumps? So this is a bucket handle action, and this is a water pump action here at the front. So in this exercise, the arm movements we're going to do, which will be out to the sides, just up as far as it's comfy and then down, and then to the front, up as far as it's comfy and then wide and down. So you can make them lower and smaller if you need to for your shoulders. If someone was super injured, they would have to work just from their elbows. But eventually we'd want to get their upper arms moving to move all around these ribs. This exercise, it looks like a shoulder exercise. That is a nice side effect of it. It looks like a breathing exercise. It is, because it's following the breath, but actually it's a rib moving exercise. So it's really good for breathing, for calming your mind, for releasing your shoulders, releasing your ribs, and really good for improving breathing ultimately, actually. It's a great exercise for people like me, asthmatics, just to keep all that lung tissue moving. So if you're ready, you simply stand, feet roughly hip width apart and parallel where you feel comfy, neck is free. And you don't go into moving and making the breath follow it. You try and take a step back and calm yourself down. Like we did at the beginning, sneak up on yourself, notice your breathing. And next time you're naturally breathing in, it's the impetus of the inhale that raises the arms just up to where they're comfortable. And it's the letting go of the exhale, you're almost stroking the air, that lets the arms come back down. It's almost like Tai Chi. And again in reverse, it's the impetus of your next inhale. The arms almost float up on the inhale. Inhale is prana, it's upward moving energy. And exhale is what we call apana, it's downward moving energy. So this even follows the yoga philosophy of prana and apana. Just continue, just keep changing direction. So the inhale, the upward moving energy, moves the arms up. And the exhale, the downward moving energy, the apana, moves the arms down. Let the breathing be completely natural. And let the movement follow the breath. Going with the flow if you like. Keep your neck relaxed, your jaw relaxed. You can have your eyes open, you can have your eyes closed. If we were in a group class together, you'd all be moving totally individually because there's no way that all of us are breathing the same. It's completely unique. This is an outer manifestation of your breathing. I can actually see the pace that you're breathing at. You can even see the pauses. Remember what I said about the breathing being the bridge between the mind and the body? Notice how when you really get into it, everything calms down. The breathing is the key, really. So we don't always need to be stretching and pulling and tugging to ease the upper body. Next time you breathe out and your arms come down to the sides, which might be different to me. You haven't fallen into nothing, you haven't fallen into an abyss. You're in Tadasana, the mountain pose, sometimes known as Samastiti, equal standing. Often we take ourselves through all these tiny movements to try and even out our standing, but let's just see what's naturally happening. Your weight in your balls and your heels and your inner and your outer feet. Yeah, I felt I needed to go back slightly. I'm always tipped forwards. Yeah, and that's released my neck and my shoulders because I found my heels. Don't need to hold on to my arms, they're fully attached. Most of us are in such a stress response that we're always doing something with our arms. What does it feel like just to let them go? It feels wonderful. The neck frees and the breathing frees and the shoulders free. Notice how it feels simply to stand. Mr. Iyengar is a very famous yoga teacher who created Iyengar yoga. He used to talk about this feeling of standing like a fountain. Think of a fountain where the strength or the force of it comes up the middle. And think about how it spills over softly to the edges. Do you have some sense of that in your body as you stand here? You can drop your weight down, you get a rebound from the floor. There's a sense of up that goes all the way up the middle. It's from the feet, inner legs, pelvic floor, what people think just their core, well, that's only part of it, their spine. There's a sense of strength all the way up. We don't need to lift up or do anything. There's just a strong, quiet sense of strength in the middle. And there's a softness at the outside as the arms are let go. Standing like a fountain. Maybe even just briefly close your eyes. Is there a little wobble? Just to give us that information. How much do we rely on what we see to balance? We all do to an extent. So we can just practice. How is it with the eyes shut? How is it with the eyes open? That's really subtle balance practice, but very useful. How does your breathing feel? Nervous system feeling a bit calmer, quieter now. Well done. And then you wouldn't want to stay still for too long. That's how people faint. That's why the old policemen used to say hello, 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 and do this with their legs just to keep their calves pumping. So we can move now. Well done. And then let's just do whatever you need to be comfortable to get ready for final relaxation. So if you need to pause me, go to the loo, get a drink, put extra clothes on, open or close curtains, windows, whatever you need to do. Well done. So I'd like to offer you the gift of Yoga Nidra. Deep rest. The preparation is making the body reclined. Could be back lying, side lying, front lying, even sitting back in a chair. Head and heart on a similar level, so already the heart doesn't need to work quite so hard against gravity. Already the blood pressure is lowering. Comfy for you as an individual? Are you a no prop, certain prop, lots of props sort of a person? What do you need to do? Not what you habitually do, but what do you need to do right now to make your body comfy? Legs bent, legs long, pillow in the back of the knees, arms on you, arms away from you, side lying. What is it you need to do? Recline, comfy, warm enough. So you don't want to be really, really hot ideally, because that's exhausting, but you want to be warm because it helps muscles relax. Darkness is important, so often in a group class this is the point the teacher would have closed the blinds or the curtains. I'd encourage you to close your eyes. If you've got an eye pillow or a scarf or something, cover your eyes, because when the darkness hits the eyes, it releases chemicals, hormones, messengers really, that tell the whole system it's time to rest. Recline, comfy, warm, dark. And the final aspect is stillness. So if you need to move, feel free to move. Sometimes you just need to have a wiggle. If the ultimate goal of yoga is freedom, how could you not be free to wiggle? So if you need to wiggle, have a wiggle now or at any time. But then see if you can let your body, even if it's only briefly, be still. You're not fixed. You can move whenever you like. But if you're trying to relax, being still is helpful. There are fewer messages between the brain, the nerves, the muscles, and it's more likely that that relaxation response will kick in. Recline, comfy, warm, dark and still. You've done your very best for your physical body. When you can't do any more, just let it rest. Comfort is on many levels, physical, mental, emotional, and so on. So we've done our best for the physical body. Then let's look to the mind. Take a nice breath in, and as you breathe out in your own mind, say to yourself, rest. Do this 3 times all together like you really, really mean it. And then we're going to stroke the mind around the body. Imagine it soothing and smoothing and easing every place that we visit. Take all the attention into the right hand, the fingers, the thumb, palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, armpit and shoulder. Down into the left hand, fingers, thumb, palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, armpit and shoulder. All the way down to the right foot, the toes, the sole, top of the foot, heel, ankle, calf, shin, knee, thigh, buttock, groin and hip. Down to the left foot, toes, the sole, top of the foot, heel, ankle, calf, shin, knee, thigh, buttock, groin and hip. Aware of the lower back, the mid back, the left shoulder blade, the right shoulder blade, tops of the shoulders, abdomen, left chest, right chest, back of the neck, sides of the neck, back of the head, sides of the head, top of the head, aware of the forehead, cool and smooth, a lovely sense of space between the eyebrows, eyes soft and unfocused, resting back in their sockets, cheeks softening down away from the eyes, aware of the tip of the nose and the centre of the chin, upper and lower lips soft, teeth slightly apart, lower jaw releasing, tongue resting, space in the mouth, softening and releasing the throat, aware of the whole of the body, wholeness. You are more than your physical body, let it rest. Let thoughts come, let thoughts go. It's the nature of the mind to think. You are more than your thoughts. Let your dear mind rest. Got that lovely reassuring awareness of the body breathing you. Effortlessly, a sense each inhale brings you exactly what you need. And each exhale a deeper sense of peace and release. You are the silent witness of yourself. That part of you that can watch the body resting and the thoughts coming and going and the body breathing you. Those parts of us that change constantly, as does the world around us. But that part of you that can watch, this is the enduring essence of you. The true self. Until you hear my voice again, rest. 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 Allow yourself to be aware of my voice. Resisting the urge to feel like you need to do anything or respond to it. You're nice and relaxed, you're aware of my voice. Take time to notice where you are and how you are, and the effect of the practice that you've done. How are you? What do you need? If you want to stay resting, you're at home, so you can ignore these final instructions and rest for as long as you like. If you do have other things you need to attend to, find pleasing ways now to be a little bit more awake and aware, returning to everyday thinking and being. Thank you all very much, most sincerely, for practicing yoga with me. I think we've got a break for a week, so look out for your term notices for booking for September. Thank you, take care, be good, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.